Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video I'm going to take a look at Paladin cards from the upcoming March of the Lich King expansion and theorycraft a bunch of decks for what Paladin could look like in the upcoming expansion. So overall the Paladin set that we're getting, it's pretty evenly divided between this slightly slower, more defensive dragon stuff and then more aggressive this sort of Blood Knight thing, or self-damage aggression, that sort of package. So the dragon package has 4 cards in it. There's Daring Drake, 4 mana 4/4 dragon, Rush, Battlecry if you're holding a dragon, gain +1/+1. So it's a 5/5 rush for 4 mana, okay. Then Flight of the Bronze, Discover Dragon, then Mana Thirst 7, summon a 5/5 Drake with Taunt. So really sweet card in the mid game when for 1 mana, when you have 7 mana overall, you can get a 5/5 Drake with Taunt and you can discover another dragon. And Time Warden, 4 mana 3/5 dragon, Battlecry until the end of your next turn. Dragons you summon gain Taunt and Divine Shield. So it would kind of be useful to be able to play this with other dragons and then follow that up next turn with possibly multiple dragons. But dragons are pretty expensive, so it's kind of hard to just play a lot of dragons at once. And then there's Anachronos, 7 mana 8/8 dragon, Battlecry send all other minions 2 turns into the future, which means that all other minions will disappear, and then after 2 turns they will reappear. However, if there is not enough space on the board for all of the minions that were sent away, then the remaining ones just disappear to nowhere. So I actually think Anachronos will not be present in all of the Dragon Paladin decks, because Anachronos goes into very defensive control style decks. And then you can add the dragon package to a control deck, but if you want to play more mid-range dragons, then you probably just don't want to play with Anachronos. And then there is this Blood Knight package. The Blood Elf Paladins, when they wield the light and they actually wrest it to their control, they're not quite as altruistic that other light wielders are. So, okay, so this self-damage theme kind of fits in. But is the package any good? Well, there's Feast and Famine. 1 mana, give your hero +3 attack this turn, Mana Thirst 4 and Lifesteal. Then I think the star of this set for Paladin is the Sanguine Soldier. 1 mana, 2/1 Divine Shield. Battlecry, deal 2 damage to your hero. Deal 2 damage to your hero is quite negligible, and 2/1 with Divine Shield for 1 mana is just phenomenal. Like usually you have Divine Shield and then you have maybe like just 1 attack, which means that you can't actually get aggressive with that, but with Sanguine Soldier you can really get aggressive, so love that card. Then there's Blood Crusader, 6 mana 5/5 Battlecry, your next Paladin minion this turn costs health instead of mana. This obviously should be a card that breaks the game somehow, because when you can pay in health, you can just do some crazy stuff. But on the other hand, Paladin minions. There are not that many that great Paladin minions. Maybe there is a way to build this into a pure aggro deck and then on 6 you play that and you get something else on top, but it's kind of hard to see what that something else could be. Paladin just doesn't have a lot of good high-end minions. Also, if you put this into a very aggressive deck, then when you have pretty low curve, you just might not have another minion that you could easily play with that. Then we have 4 Quel'Thala's, give a friendly minion +3 attack, give your hero +2 attack this turn, okay, 5 damage, 2 mana, not bad. Blood Matriarch Liadrin, 2 mana 3/2, after you summon a minion with less attack than this, give it Divine Shield and Rush. But because Liadrin only has 3 attack, it's kind of hard. Like, would you put Liadrin into a hand buff deck? If you put Liadrin into a hand buff deck, okay, well, then everything else is hand buffed too, so it's kind of hard to get Liadrin to be stronger than those. If it's not a hand buff deck, then you first need to have some kind of buff for Liadrin, and then you can use the others, so yeah, I'm not really convinced about that. And finally there is the Seal of Blood. 3 mana, give a minion +3/+3 and Divine Shield, deal 3 damage to your hero. Alright, pretty decent buff overall. So you can build like mid-range decks out of these, you might be able to build some control decks, you could try to build some kind of aggro deck. There's a few options and these are the best decks that I have been able to come up with so far. Let's take a look. First of all, Dragon Paladin mid-range style, and I think mid-range style Dragon Paladin means Kazakhstan. Yeah, we're going to build a Kazakhstan deck, so that we're going to use some dragons, then we're going to order in the court to get Cariel and Kazakhstan, 2 really strong tools. Get that Kazakhstan out there, that's a win condition. Do I believe Kazakhstan is strong enough for win condition nowadays? I'm actually not completely sure, so maybe this idea just will not fly in the end. But yeah, something like this, I think. Just using dragons means that you won't be able to be very aggressive. Then I don't think dragons are big enough individually that you can just keep dropping threat after threat and win the game. You kind of need something more. And Kazakhstan just might be that. On the other hand, you could also simply play the dragons and use some dragons in a control deck. So then you use Anachronos, send all the minions 2 turns in the future, which gives you more times to find your defensive tools. You can use Astal or Bloodstone, it's another win condition in addition to your Sire Denatrius, and just go with some big stuff, bunch of dragons. Slower, steadier, Sire Denatriusing, Astaloring. I guess it could work. The third deck I have built for Paladin is using these Blood Knights, so Sanguine Soldier, Seal of Blood. I tried to build a pure aggro deck out of these, but I just did not have faith that it's strong enough. I just don't think it was strong enough. So then I ended up trying to build a hand buff deck out of these, because there's Prismatic Jewel Kit, and now we have even more Divine Shields. So many Divine Shields. Also room for High Lord 4 Dragon in this one, because there's so many Divine Shields. And actually it's possible to even build this in a pure shell. And if you build this in a pure shell, you get to use class action lawyers, you get to use the Countess. So between Countess and class action lawyer, you have some additional removal pieces, and you have some more win conditions, and then you have those big hand buffs, big divine shields. Maybe there's something to it. And finally, this is now the last expansion of the standard year, which means that standard card pool is at its largest. So maybe we could build a Highlander Paladin. I know there are a bunch of these semi-Highlander Paladin decks around right now, control Paladin decks that include Reno, although you need to get rid of a bunch of duplicates before you're actually able to play your Reno in those decks. But still, if it's a long game, yeah, that sort of can work out. But now, because we have even more cards available, we might be able to just put a big minion pile deck, singleton deck, Highlander deck. Reno is always available. We have a lot of win conditions because we have Jailer, we have Denatrius, we have Astal Bloodstone. We can get rid of some stuff with Theotar, with Mutanus. There's just Smothering Starfish here, of course, some silence effects, weapon removal with Rustless Viper. Just piling all the semi-good stuff into it and see how it goes. So it's actually going to be pretty interesting to see how far Highlander decks can go in the upcoming meta, because now we have a lot of cards available in the standard format, and a lot of win conditions are legendary cards anyway. Denatrius, Jailer, Astalor, Theotar, all of these are legendary, so you will only have one copy of them anyway. So what are you even losing when you're going Highlander? I'm not sure you're losing all that much. So yeah, Paladin, it looks like there's going to be a bunch of ways that you can try to build it. The one thing that would really intrigue me would be if there's some way to build it as a pure aggro deck. But I just can't find the belief in myself to do that. But mid-range control Paladin styles probably are going to be available in March of the Lich King. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.